Hey there guys, I'm Tom, and I am taking my 40k World Eaters army on an adventure back in time. With the new release of the World Eaters sub-faction for 40k 9th edition, I saw the writing on the wall for my collection when I saw the unit entries in the codex. Almost all of my army is unusable unless I do weird allying shenanigans. That, and I have been struggling to find the motivation to finish an army that got the snot kicked out of it because I wanted to play thematically in both 8th and 9th in a game system that I do not enjoy playing. So they have been collecting dust and I want to use them. I've paid for them already, so I might as well get some fun out of them. I know 10th is coming out and I will give it a shot, but honestly I don't think there will be much difference from 8th or 9th. And just as a side note, I will still be using this army in 40k if 10th is cool. In fact, the Legion color scheme still survives to this day. Here's an official Games Workshop painting guide of the Gladiator Cadre 331 that still uses that color scheme. So in 40k, there will be that. And for the rest of the time, there will be 12th Legion as Astartes. With Chaos armies, you really have a lot of options of using that army for something like Horus Heresy. Chaos is great for Heresy, especially if you theme your army around mid or late Heresy depending on your Legion choice. The Siege of Terra books really does make it sound like you can buy a box of 40k Space Marines and paint them in their Heresy color schemes. Another thing that's great is the concept of Mark V Heresy Pattern Power Armor, which is a catch-all term for power armor coupled together from various other contemporary armor marks, as well as some Tech Marine ingenuity and some bonding stats. But I wanted it to do more than that. Since I have the spare parts, I wanted to evaluate my current force, dial back the chaos part quite a bit, and replace several bits with Heresy era bits and uncorrupted armor or weapon pattern that I had spare from other projects. So that is a whole lot of backstory. My process thus far with these test models has been to try to remove as many chaos signs and sigils as much as I can. I am allowing a few Khorne symbols in my particular army, mostly because they are from Forge World upgrade kits, but I'm also allowing a few other exceptions. But I'm not having them go full Khorne yet. I know they're dedicated to it at this point, late Heresy-ish, but they might not know it yet. They're still in their teenage chaos phase, moving into the Scouring and into 40k. Yeah, sure, more Khorne stuff, but less will make them more applicable to more systems. Though I very much doubt I will be able to play them as loyalist World Eaters with good conscience. I also try to steer away from using too many horns and mutations. In fact, if I can not do it, I will opt to not do it. Mixing plainish shoulder pads with a bit of chaos trim on it is fine to foreshadow where they end up 10 millennia later. The ranged weapons, shoulders, and heads are where I'm trying to make swaps most of the time. Weapon arms too, actually. It doesn't take too much to dial back the clock on these chaos models. It will be more challenging if I eventually take on the project for my 40k Imperial Fists, as much of that is Mark 7. Yes, I know, it is technically legit, especially for Imperial Fists and all that, but don't get me started. Half the Legion won't be running around in that, and that would only be applicable to the very end of the Heresy. Sure, the Scouring, that's fine, but Heresy proper, nah, not happening. I want to be able to play early Heresy battles and not feel weird about it, and not have my immersion broken. I might do an analysis on the Chaos kits and armor marks to show their compatibility with Heresy if that is interesting to any of you. In fact, one of my most favorite projects on YouTube was when Templars Crusade 01 and his buddies started doing Horus Heresy and the Great Crusade before Forge World even made rules for the game. They made extensive use of the Chaos kits to dial back the clock to 30k. Anyway, this mix match of armor is great for World Eaters especially. They don't care much about anything as long as the blood flows and things sort of work and get them to where they can rip things apart in close combat. Other legions such as Sons of Horus or Wordbearers would look right at home in 40k Chaos Marine kits, as they tend to be described corrupting that way earlier than most other legions. Death Guard, of course, could also use 40k kits after they arrive at Terra anyway. But as I said, I still want the army to be usable in 40k, especially if 10th turns out to be enjoyable for me. Some of the units will likely be too hard to de-chaosify, but I will still repaint them. So with these Indomitus pattern Terminator armors, which are actually usable in the Legacies PDF as a support troop choice, I'm using some Cataphractii bits and some Tartarus bits to try and dial back the clock. It does take a lot of scraping to get the shoulders to fit right, but I think the result is worth it, and since these are Chaos Terminator kits, there aren't any Crux Terminatus to scrape off, and the Chaos trim isn't too bad. I'm leaving the horns and tusks because I see them as trophies of aliens that they've slain. Time for priming. The paint job is fairly simple. I'm using a Crack Blue, and as with all Chaos stuff, it is the trim that takes the longest time. I'm using Balthasar Gold. I'm only doing one layer of everything because I'm doing a quite weathered and battle damaged look. Using Leadbelcher for the metal bits. And various colors for the iconography and whatnot. These were some models that I prepared earlier as well. You might see the time lapse of the painting of those in another video in this series. I'll use these as an example for a technique that I filmed when I painted these guys, which was actually prior to the guys that I'm showing in this video. So here I am doing a very cheaty and easy and way simplified version of what all the fancy YouTubers are doing these days, which is oil washes and whatnot. But instead of varnishing it, then waiting for that to dry, then oils or enamels or whatnot, and then waiting for that to dry and using spirits and pulling it off, I'm skipping all those steps. What I'm doing is just throwing the wash on there, and I have the Q-tip, the last step in their process, and I'm wiping off the bits that I don't want right away. I haven't played with the oils or anything like that myself, but I imagine this will get you 80% of the way of the look for probably under 20% of the effort, maybe 10% of the effort. Anyway, this is the look I'm going with, and if you can use it, feel free to steal that. With these models, I am confident that I can take on the project. It won't be a quick one. In fact, my official goal for this year is 1 HQ and 2 troop choices. But the way that this is going and how much I am enjoying it, which I thoroughly am, I think I will handedly beat that goal. And yep, I will be picking up at least one of the boxes of the new Berserker models in good time. They look awesome and right at home. I hope you've enjoyed this introduction to this long-term project and can see where I'm going with it. I will post progress updates on it as I feel that they are relevant, and I will add them to a playlist so you can watch the entire project from start to finish if you stumble upon it at a later date than they are released. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I will catch you guys later.